Hey guys, how's it going? I'm here today to tell you a little bit about what I'm eating and discuss any topic. So that's going to kind of be the format I'm going to test out here for a little bit. So send me any questions, any topics that you want me to talk about. So let's start with what I'm eating today. So if you'll see here what I'm eating, I have chicken. I cooked my chicken in the air fryer last night, seasoned it with some brown sugar and bourbon seasoning that I got from Costco. And I have my delicious french fries. I bought my french fry cooker off of Amazon for $20 and cut up baby red potatoes. I have 110 grams of potatoes, 110 grams of chicken, and then I have half a zucchini that I just air fried as well with the same seasoning. In about 2 weeks here, I'll switch from brown sugar and bourbon seasoning to just salt and pepper. I'll slowly phase out all processed foods. And I have here 25 grams of reduced sugar ketchup, which is a lifesaver. So, today's topic of discussion is going to be if it fits your macros versus a bro diet. So let's first break down what each of them is, my experience with both of them. So, my first bodybuilding show I ever did, I did a mixture of the both. It was supposed to be a bro diet, and I was unintentionally doing an if it fits your macros style. So bro diet is eating foods that are only one ingredient. So I'm not eating cereal, I'm not eating pastas, I'm not eating rice. It's only one ingredient foods for my whole entire meal plan. So like a common meal for me was green beans, sweet potatoes, and chicken breast. And I would eat that all the time. I ate that multiple times a day, or have egg whites and oatmeal for breakfast, and then have fish or shrimp for dinner with some asparagus or other vegetables and almond butter and almonds throughout the day. So it was really minimally processed foods throughout the whole time, and that's how I spent 18 weeks, along with intense cardio and other things for my whole bodybuilding prep for my last show. And I came in extremely lean, I was ready, and it was a good show. I just didn't have a whole lot of muscle on me. So that's my experience with the bro diet. And before I get into what my thoughts are on it, we're going to hop over to if it fits your macros. So basically every food has protein, fats, and carbs in it. And essentially you just track all of your food in like apps like MyFitnessPal or whatever it is, and at the end of the day you want to make sure you're hitting your totals for the protein, fats, and carbs. So essentially, and you over time when you start to track, you begin to learn what foods have what macros. So like I know potatoes have pretty high carbs, it's mostly carbs, and then there's some trace amounts of protein and sometimes fat. And chicken breast is high protein, almost, and zero fat and zero carbs. So it's pretty high protein. And zucchini is pretty much just carbs, but there's very few of it. So every food is like, it has a different ratio of each of those. But it really comes down to knowing how much of each you should have at each meal. So like for each meal I like to have like 30 to 40 carbs and 30 protein, and then fats are kind of on their own kind of snacks, or I eat them with my meal. Like I'll have 50 grams of avocado in any meal. I could have had it, my avocados just aren't ripe right now. So my experience with if it fits your macros or flexible dieting has been this entire last year and a half. Ever since I ended my show in October of 2016, I started an if it fits your macros style, and I found balance that way. Because essentially you can't eat Oreos every single day if you want. I choose to eat cereal every single day. And it comes with its own pros and cons. You just have to make sure by the end of the day you hit your protein for the day, your carbs for the day, and your fats for the day. And you can really manipulate in there whatever you want. Like in my off season, I decided I wanted to have cheesecake. Go nuts. Have fun not eating fats or carbs for the rest of the day and having to eat just a ton of pure protein. So it allows for a lot of mental freedom. Like I didn't have to feel deprived of any single food ever. I truly didn't want a food because I knew the macro content and I knew I wouldn't be happy with the rest of my day. So I'd rather opt for something a little bit cleaner. Right now I'm on the tail end of my If It Fits Your Macros before I transition to a little bit more of a cleaner or a bro diet. And so the biggest thing with If It Fits Your Macros is there's a huge opportunity to eat like an asshole, especially if you're in a bulking season where you have a lot of macros to play with. You can really be tempted to eat a lot of like donuts and really high calorie foods that don't really serve your body well at all. And you can be really de-incentivized to eat vegetables, which is what happened to me in my off season. I didn't eat a ton of vegetables because I would rather eat a donut since I had a lot of carbs to fill and not eat a ton of vegetables, because it does get to be exhausting to eat so much food, clean food especially, when you are trying to add muscle mass and not blow up and get too fat. So really, what it comes down to is there's definitely pros. Okay, so let's hop into the pros of each. So on the bro diet style, you don't have to think. It's a meal plan. Typically speaking, it's a meal plan. You don't have to think about what foods you're gonna eat. You on Sundays and Wednesdays, you'll meal prep all of your foods. Your coach will send you it, and you know exactly what you're gonna eat, when you're gonna eat. And you know exactly how much of each food you're going to eat. So you can meal prep for the entire week, and you can do it 1 or 2 times a week, and you don't have to think about your food for the rest of the entire week. Whereas if it's your macros, I spend roughly 8 hours a month on MyFitnessPal, which means I'm plugging in numbers, I'm looking up foods, I'm searching, seeing the macro content, if it's going to fit with my macros for the day, or if I have to save for tomorrow, or how much I can have, if I can have a half serving, 3/4 of a serving, serving and a half. It's a lot of number manipulation to find out exactly the perfect ratios of what I need. My cat loves to play fetch, so you'll see that throughout here. So basically, I have done both, and I've never done If It Fits Your Macros during a prep, and so far this has been, I'm 12 weeks into prep now, out of a 21-week prep, and I haven't felt for a minute that I'm on prep. It allows me so much flexibility. If I'm on the go, all I have to have is my food scale, and I can pick up a rotisserie chicken at any grocery store and know I'll have protein. I can pick up a bag of microwavable rice and veggies, and I know I'll have a meal. I just have to worry about servings. Or when I travel, I go into the gas station, I spend a little bit of extra time looking at the macros of everything, and I can pick something out while I'm on prep at a gas station. You cannot do that when you are on a meal plan. You have to have your sweet potatoes, chicken, and rice packed in the back in a cooler, because you can't leave it up to chance, because how many gas stations do you know that have chicken, broccoli, and rice? None of them. So you can, it's more flexible. It can solve for a more like flexible lifestyle. So I love it for my off season. But because I can't eat cereal and popcorn and cake if I want to, or other bad foods for my digestion, you can hold a lot of inflammation. So you might not be as soft as you want, and your gut health isn't going to be as optimal for A, lack of vegetables, and B, highly inflammatory foods. So you're going to have some other side effects. It doesn't come with all rainbows and butterflies. It's definitely not a win-win solution, because otherwise everyone would be doing it. So my total thoughts on If It Fits Your Macros versus a bro diet: if you have a specific timed goal of you need to be a certain size or a certain weight or a certain lean body fat measurement by a certain date, I would recommend doing a bro diet. It's going to reduce inflammation. You won't have to think about it. You have the time, and you're going to make use of that time, and it's going to be effective. It's not the easiest. You're going to have to bring your meals. You're going to have to eat your packaged meals out of your Tupperware in front of your office, in front of your coworkers. You're gonna have to eat out in public. You're not gonna be able to go out to restaurants. If you're gonna go 100%, I would do a meal plan. Go hard or go home. Be committed. Make it no obsession, like no excuses, no ifs, ands, or buts. Go hard into it. But if you don't have an exact deadline of a date that you have to be, and you wanna create lasting change, I would still do bro diet for about half a year. For 3 to 6 months, I would do clean eating because it cleanses your palate, it re-sensitizes you to foods that taste sweeter, and it gets you appreciation for when you can have cereal, so you aren't just starting off just rationing your cereal. You actually know what it's like to eat a ton of clean food and to get rid of all that sugar in your system and cut rid of that sugar craving. So I still think you should eat clean for 3 to 6 months, and then you can go into, if it's your macros, then you can, I would recommend working with a coach at any point in this. I work with a coach, personal trainer, Dusty. He's awesome, a really good personality click, and he's really smart and takes time to educate himself. But the biggest thing is consult with a trainer, because I don't like taking food away from myself, but if someone else tells me, that's fine, I'll stick to it. So if that's something like you and you don't really know where to go, if you're feeding yourself too much or too little, often I find a lot of the times people, they restrict food on themselves when they're trying to diet, so they'll eat 1,200 calories when they're excessively overweight. Well, that's not going to do anything for you. It's only going to starve your body, and the next time you binge eat, you're going to store all of that as fat because your body's in starvation mode. For me, it just makes sense. Like, okay, if my body is completely starving and the next time it gets an opportunity to food, I'm going to store that and make sure I can have that for the next time this person tries to starve me. So, like, to me, why don't you get your body working for you and use it as a machine and get it up and running and moving for you? I've helped other people eat more food and lose weight because they're feeding their body, they're helping it work with them, they're not completely shutting it down and slowing down the metabolism. So metabolism is something else we'll get into, a whole different story, but I recommend going for the bro diet, experiencing kind of that suffering and that restriction, and then finding out what your macros are. Like, after you eat a ton of protein, I recommend a 40-30-30 split. And essentially that is 40% comes from protein, 30% of your total calories comes from fats, and 30% from carbs. Or you could do 40% carbs, 30 protein, 30 fats. That's for a typical bodybuilder or someone who's exercising a ton and looking to lose weight. I think that's a pretty good ballpark to start with. Once you get to there, you can then start to manipulate it and do a little bit higher carbs, see how your body is, see how you feel, see how you look. For me, when I eat clean, my body clears up. My acne goes away. I get less earwax. I have more regular. My body treats me better. I get better sleep when I eat clean foods. And so that's not to say that I eat clean all the time. Like I said, I do love cereal, and I do love peanut butter, and I love burgers, and I love all those things. But I don't eat those things every single day, all day long. I eat them once in a while because I've done the clean eating and I know what it's like, but I also do like my treats and my sweets and my savory things once in a while. So I do it in moderation, but I think the easiest way to find balance in life, or to find balance in anything, is to go all the way to the extreme and then hone it back to about halfway to find that medium. I find if you try to slowly, incrementally, is this too much, is this not enough, you're never going to find it. Go all the way in and then hone it back to where you find like a nice happy balance. once you've had time to kind of play with your ratios and see where they are, you can either keep them there and then go straight into, if it fits your macros, starting to slowly introduce, okay, I'm going to swap out this meal of oatmeal for this bowl of cereal. Or I'm going to swap out this steak for a scoop of protein. Or I'm going to swap out my chicken breast for some protein pancakes. You can start to make those switches one by one, see how your body feels. Like, I encourage throughout this whole process to like take note, take stock of how your body feels. Are you hungry? Are you tired? Does your stomach hurt? Is it crampy? Do you feel bloated? Do you feel good? Do you feel energetic? Do you feel hungry, thirsty? Definitely keep mental tabs of all those things that are going on as you make these changes. And you don't want to change more than one thing, for sure, once a month. These changes are going to be so slow, but just take like mental note over time, and slowly change things one month at a time. And over time, you'll begin to get a better feel for your body and for what foods affect you differently, because I know other people react better to higher fats than I do, and vice versa. I personally like to eat fats more, but I found that my body likes carbs better. I have more energy. Fats keep me full, but I don't need a ton of them to like be full capacity. Just minimal amounts throughout the day to keep me full. But otherwise, I like eating fats better, but I tend to eat more carbs. Crunchy. And then, once you have time to slowly bring in more of different supplemental foods, then you can get to the next level if you want to either A, compete from there, or it's going to be a lot easier to cut into a show if you can maintain an off season with still keeping your macros in rein and having fun with different foods, but you're still not losing control and falling completely off the wagon, because that's me. I'm either on the ball or it's in the other room. I struggled with that after my first show. I would stare at pictures every single night of food that I was going to eat after my show. Well, no wonder I binge ate until it hurt after my first show. My second and third show, I looked at pictures of bodies that I wanted to look like, and so that was motivational, and I was like, okay, I don't even want those other foods. So then I tricked myself into eating a ton of healthy foods, when in reality, you can still gain weight from eating too many apples. Apples have carbs, and to a certain extent, it is calories in versus calories out. You can't outbeat that. You still can get fat on healthy foods, which I don't think fruits are all that healthy. That's another topic. But it gave me a really good balance this off season, where I was able to, I had more macros to play with, because obviously I was working a lot harder and I wasn't in a calorie deficit, I was in a surplus, so I could train harder and focus on putting on more muscle, and I really focused on building my mind-muscle connection at each different muscle group throughout my body. I really focused to try to hone in the different muscle groups in my body, and that's what my off season was focused on, but I had those macros to play with to still enjoy food. I became a total foodie this off season. Like, I will have another whole video dedicated completely to Cammy's Cafe and where that came from and how it came to be. But that is something I'm extremely proud of and really been enjoying, and I really think it came out of an If It Fits Your Macros lifestyle. But I'm extremely glad that I did it. The bro diet. I think it helped me be able to do flexible dieting a lot easier. And I like the freedom it gives me. Even if I do have to go clean, I still know I can do If It Fits Your Macros. I'm playing my food more on the fly now. And I like my palate changes. I want to eat meat one day, I want to eat red meat. Okay, then I'm going to fit red meat into my macros. And I kind of can listen to my body a little bit more and do what works for me versus a cookie cutter diet that's not going to work for everyone. So I am going to continue to do this, show you my healthy meals, show you how I did it, and what parts were it, like how I made the food, and what's new, what's a healthy, yummy dinner, lunch you can make, really easy stuff. I'm not a talented cooker, I'm not a talented chef, however I do love to cook and I love to eat good food, so that's where the food part came along. I really have created a passion for it, and I love sharing that, how other people can eat delicious food that's healthy too. So Stay tuned for next week's topic. Send me any suggestions you have. Thanks for chatting and eating lunch with me. I got a little bit more eating to do, but I'll catch you next time. Bye.